In the bright aisles of Jensen's toy store, where children's dreams usually came true, 7-year-old Tommy stood clutching his carefully saved $3.27 while the store manager pointed toward the door, telling him this wasn't a museum for poor kids to just browse, but sometimes the cruelest moments can lead to the most beautiful acts of kindness. And on this ordinary Saturday morning, a simple act of prejudice would spark a chain reaction of generosity that would change not just one little boy's life, but an entire community watching unnoticed from the Lego aisle. A man in simple clothes was about to transform a moment of humiliation into a movement of hope before we continue this heartwarming story of how one child's tears became a river of change. If you believe in the power of compassion to transform darkness into light, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share these remarkable stories of human kindness with the world. Marcus Chen, CEO of Wonderland Toys, had made a habit of visiting local toy stores incognito, his worn jeans and simple sweater, allowing him to observe genuine customer experiences. Without the fanfare his position usually created, but nothing in it. His 20 years of retail experience had prepared him for what he witnessed in Jensen's toy store that Saturday morning. The casual cruelty that would shake him to his core. "We're not a charity case," the store manager's voice carried across the aisle sharp with disdain as he towered over a small boy whose carefully counted coins now scattered across the floor. "This isn't a place for window shopping." Marcus watched the child's face crumple, his thin shoulders hunching against the verbals. Assault. While other customers pretended not to notice their own discomfort evident in averted eyes, the boy couldn't have been more than 7, his clothes clean but worn, his sneakers carefully mended with duct tape, but it was his eyes that caught Marcus's attention, the determination there even as tears threatened to fall, the dignity in the way he knelt to gather his dropped coins despite the manager's continued barrage of humiliating comments. "I saved it," the boy whispered. 3 months of cans. Something in those words, in the quiet pride beneath the hurt, struck Marcus deeply, reminding him of his own childhood, when every penny had mattered, when his mother had worked double shifts to keep food on the table, when dreams had seemed as distant as the stars. He found himself moving forward instinctively, but the boy was already running, his small frame disappearing through the automatic doors, leaving only scattered pennies in his wake. Marcus followed, at a distance, watching as the child ran down Main Street, his breath coming in gasps that were half sobs, finally stopping in front of Mike's recycling center, where an elderly man stepped out, concern evident on his weathered face. "Tommy." The man called, "What happened, son?" But Tommy just shook his head, clutching his remaining coins tighter. "He comes every day after school," the old man told Marcus, who had approached carefully, identifying himself with quiet authority, "collects cans, brings them here, saving up for something special." Mike's eyes held understanding, born of years watching children like Tommy struggle against circumstances beyond their control. His sister's birthday coming up, wanted to get her something nice. The story emerged in pieces as Marcus listened. Tommy's mother working 3 jobs to keep the family afloat since their father's death. His little sister Sarah battling chronic asthma. The endless cycle of medical bills and tight budgets that left no room for luxuries like birthday presents. The boy's determination to change at least that one small thing for his sister. "He counted those coins 100 times," Mike said softly, making sure he had enough. Marcus felt something shift inside him, a decision crystallizing as he watched. Tommy finally accepted Mike's offered tissue, wiping his eyes with the careful conservation of a child who had learned to make everything last his own success. His company's resources, his ability to effect change, all suddenly focusing on this moment. This injustice, this opportunity to transform humiliation into hope. Pulling out his phone, Marcus made 2 calls, first to his head of corporate research, requesting immediate information on Jensen's toy store, its ownership structure, its management, policies, its history of similar incidents. Then to his media director, "We're going to need a strategy," he said, watching Tommy head home. Shoulders still slumped, but this time we're doing it differently. Experience had taught Marcus that public shaming rarely led to lasting change, that true transformation required something deeper than mere exposure of wrongdoing, required understanding, healing, growth. He began forming a plan that would address not just this incident, but the systemic issues behind it, the subtle prejudices that turned toy stores into battlegrounds of class and privilege. Evenings settled over the small town. Marcus Chen sat in his hotel room reviewing the preliminary reports his team had assembled about Jensen's, about Tommy's family, about the community itself, understanding, growing that this moment could become more than just another viral outrage, could become instead a catalyst for real change. Sometimes, he wrote in his notes, the smallest acts of cruelty can open the door to the largest acts of kindness. Tomorrow would bring action plans, media strategies, corporate initiatives. But tonight, Marcus found himself remembering another small boy counting coins, dreaming of toys that seemed forever out of reach, understanding that sometimes life offered chances to heal old wounds by preventing new ones. His fingers moving across his phone screen, already sketching out not just a response to cruelty, but a revolution in kindness. Tommy walked slowly up the stairs to apartment 4C, his remaining coins heavy in his pocket, each step echoing with defeat. The sounds of his sister's coughing growing louder. As he approached their door, Maria Wilson had just finished her first shift at the diner and was heading to her night job at the hospital when she heard her son's familiar footsteps. "Baby, what happened?" she asked, seeing his red eyes. But Tommy just shook his head, pushing past her into their small living room. Sarah sat on their worn couch, wrapped in their father's old blanket, her breathing labored, but her face lighting up at the sight of her brother. "Did you find it, Tommy?" she asked, excitement momentarily overcoming her wheezing. "The princess doll with the sparkly dress." The same one she'd been pointing out in store windows for months, the one Tommy had been determined to give her for her 6th birthday, the one that now seemed as distant as the stars. "I'm sorry, Sarah." His voice caught, remembering the store manager's sneering face. "I'll try another store." But they both knew the truth. $3.27 wouldn't buy much anywhere. Not the kind of present Sarah deserved, not the kind of gift that might make her forget about hospital visits and breathing treatments and all the other things that made her different from other kids. Maria watched her children from the doorway, her heart aching. She'd seen Tommy's collection of cans growing in the garage, had noticed him skipping lunch at school to save his meal money, had heard him talking to their father's picture late at night, making promises about taking care of Sarah the way their dad would have wanted. She was working every shift she could, but sometimes love and determination weren't enough to keep dreams alive. Mrs. Wilson, their elderly neighbor Mrs. Chen, called through the door, "I made too much soup again." This happened often, their neighbors finding small ways to help without wounding pride sharing. Extra food, leaving outgrown clothes appearing with medicine samples that helped stretch Sarah's prescriptions. And Tommy, she added, "Mr. Jenkins downstairs asked if you could help him sort his recycling tomorrow. He'll pay you." Their small apartment told its own story of struggle and love, photos of happier times, when John Wilson's firefighter salary had kept them comfortable before the accident that took him from them. Sarah's medical equipment tucked carefully in corners, medication schedules posted on the fridge, past due bills hidden in drawers, but also evidence of Maria's determination to maintain normalcy, homework charts, star stickers for Sarah's good breathing days, Tommy's perfect attendance certificates. "Tell me what happened, baby," Maria finally asked after Sarah had fallen asleep, her breathing easier. After the evening treatments, Tommy's story spilled out then about saving the coins, about the store manager's cruelty, about dreams shattering against reality. Maria held him close, remembering John's words about how their son had been born with an old soul, with a heart too big for his own good, across town. Marcus Chen sat in his hotel reviewing the files his team had assembled about the Wilsons, about John's death. In the line of duty, about Maria, working 3 jobs to keep them afloat, about Sarah's chronic asthma and the mounting medical bills, about Tommy's daily routine of collecting cans before and after school, about a community that helped in small ways, but couldn't quite bridge the gap between survival and living. The next morning found Tommy back at his routine, checking dumpsters behind restaurants, collecting cans from neighbors who saved them. Especially for him, Mike at the recycling center, always ready with a kind word and fair prices, but today felt different, heavier. The weight of yesterday's humiliation making each step harder, each can less hopeful, each dream more distant. Chen watched from her window as Tommy made his rounds, remembering her own childhood in China, remembering hunger and hope and the power of small kindnesses. She called Maria at the diner. "Bring the children for dinner tonight," she insisted. "Sarah's breathing is always better with my special soup." They all knew. It wasn't just about soup, knew it was about community, about holding each other up when the world seemed determined to push you down. Maria's afternoon shift at the convenience store was interrupted by a call from Sarah's school, her daughter's breathing troubled again, requiring another expensive hospital visit. Tommy, already there, having run from his own classes to hold his sister's hand while they waited for their mother. The familiar fear settling over them, all the endless cycle of crisis and recovery that had become their normal, but through it all, Tommy kept collecting cans, kept counting coins, kept believing that somehow he could make his sister's birthday special, kept holding on to hope, even when it seemed foolish, even when reality pressed hard against dreams, even when store managers and empty wallets tried to teach him otherwise. His father's voice echoing in his memory. "Wilsons don't quit. Son, we find a way." Marcus Chen's researchers added each detail to their growing file. Medical records showing Sarah's ongoing battles, bank statements revealing Maria's careful juggling of bills, school reports, praising Tommy's resilience, community notes about quiet acts of kindness, all painting a picture of a family standing strong against odds that seemed insurmountable, all pointing toward something larger than just one incident in a toy store. As evening settled over their small apartment, Tommy sat by Sarah's bed watching her finally sleep peacefully after her breathing treatments, his remaining coins laid out on the floor beside him, still counting, still planning, still believing his mother found him there later, adding her own coins to his pile. "We'll find a way, baby," she whispered. "We always do," neither of them knowing that way was already being prepared, neither of them imagining that tomorrow would bring changes, neither of them suspecting that sometimes humiliation could be the first step toward miracle. Marcus Chen's temporary office in the local Wonderland Toys branch hummed with quiet activity. His team working through the night, uncovering a pattern that made the incident with Tommy seem less like an isolated event and more like a symptom of something deeper. 17 complaints in the past year, his head of research reported, all involving Jensen's store manager, all targeting lower-income customers. Security footage from the store revealed more than just Tommy's humiliation showing, a systematic approach to discrimination, subtle enough to avoid legal issues, but clear enough to create an unwelcoming atmosphere for certain customers. Marcus watched the recordings, his expression growing darker with each instance, children being followed suspiciously, families being pressured to leave teenagers, being accused of shoplifting based solely on appearance. The Jensen family doesn't know, his local manager explained, showing records of ownership, third-generation toy store, but old Mr. Jensen retired last year. His granddaughter, Catherine, just took over. She's been focused on the online business. Marcus nodded, understanding, growing that this wasn't just about punishing one cruel manager, but about transforming an entire system about turning a moment of shame into an opportunity for change. What troubled him most were the indirect effects. The children who learned early that certain doors weren't meant for them, the dreams that died quietly in store aisles, the invisible barriers that seemed to grow stronger with each small act of exclusion. "We're not just fixing one incident," he told his team. "We're addressing the message it sends to every child who walks past that store." Local media had already caught wind of the story reporters gathering outside Jensen's toy store, their presence making the manager nervous. But Marcus held back, watching learning gathering evidence that would make his intervention more than just another viral moment. "We need to understand the whole picture," he insisted. Reviewing community demographics, poverty rates, local business practices, Catherine Jensen arrived at her store unaware of the brewing storm, her grandfather's legacy under threat from actions she hadn't known about. Her own vision for the business's future about to collide with its present reality. Marcus watched her arrival, noted her confusion at the media presence, saw an opportunity for alliance rather than confrontation. "Bring her in," he instructed his team. "She needs to see this." The presentation they prepared was comprehensive security footage, customer complaints, employee testimonials, but also something more: statistics about childhood poverty in their community data, about the impact of early experiences on development research showing how small humiliations could create lasting trauma. "This isn't just about business," Marcus explained to his team. "It's about the stories we tell children about their worth." Tommy's daily route collecting. Cans had been mapped, each stop representing both struggle and determination. Mike from the recycling center provided records showing months of careful saving. Other local business owners came forward with their own stories of watching the boys. Quiet persistence. He never asked for anything, the grocery store owner reported, just wanted to earn his way. Marcus's plan began taking shape, not just a response to cruelty, but a reimagining of what a toy store could be, what community could mean, what business could do. He thought of his own childhood, of counting coins of dreams that seemed impossible, of the people who had helped him bridge the gap between wanting and having. "We're going to change the story," he announced, "not just for Tommy, but for every child who's ever stood outside looking in." Catherine Jensen sat in Marcus's temporary office, watching the footage of her store, her family's legacy, tears rolling down her face as she witnessed the systematic cruelty occurring. Under her grandfather's name, "This isn't what we're about," she whispered. "This isn't what toys are about." Marcus saw in her reaction the potential for partnership, for transformation, for something larger than either of them had initially imagined. Reporters continued gathering their presence, drawing attention, creating pressure. But Marcus knew media outrage alone wouldn't create lasting change. "We need to build something," he explained to Catherine, "something that transforms this moment into movement." Together, they began drafting plans not just for policy changes, but for community integration, for programs that would ensure no child felt unwelcome, for systems that would turn toy stores back into places of possibility. As evening approached, Marcus stood at his hotel window, watching Tommy make his afternoon rounds, still collecting cans, still believing, still trying, understanding that sometimes the greatest opportunities for change came disguised as moments of despair, knowing that tomorrow would bring the beginning of transformation, knowing that sometimes the most powerful response to cruelty was not revenge, but revolution. His phone buzzed with updates from his team, preparations in place, media strategy, ready, community partnerships forming. But Marcus found himself thinking not of corporate initiatives or public relations, but of a small boy counting coins of dreams that refused to die, of courage that persisted even when doors seemed closed, understanding that sometimes the most important business decisions weren't about business at all, but about the human heart and its capacity for both cruelty and kindness. The video hit social media at midnight. Someone's phone footage of Tommy's humiliation combined with security camera angles showing the full incident within hours. It had been shared millions of times. Justice for Tommy trending nationwide, the image of a small boy gathering scattered coins becoming a symbol that touched hearts and awakened consciences across the country. Maria Wilson's phone started ringing at dawn. Reporters wanting comments, neighbors offering support, her diner manager calling to tell her to take paid leave while the story developed, but it was Tommy's reaction that broke hearts all over again. "I just wanted to get Sarah something nice," he said quietly, watching the footage go viral on Mrs. Chen's borrowed tablet. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." The store manager's attempts at damage control only made things worse. His written statement, referring to maintaining store standards and preventing loitering, fueling public outrage, local news crews captured him arriving at work looking harassed, while comment sections filled with stories from others who had experienced similar treatment. "He did the same to my grandson," one grandmother wrote, her post shared thousands of times. Marcus Chen watched it unfold carefully, coordinating with his team to ensure the narrative stayed focused on systemic change rather than individual punishment. "We're not here for revenge," he reminded his staff as they monitored social media. "We're here for transformation." Catherine Jensen worked alongside them, her determination to redeem her family's legacy, matching Marcus's vision for community healing. Sarah's school principal called an emergency assembly after students began organizing their own protest. "We need to channel this energy positively," she told Marcus, who had been invited to speak the children's anger at their classmates' treatment, transforming into determination to help Tommy's recycling initiative expanding as students began collecting cans across the district. They're learning about community. The principal observed about standing up for each other. Local businesses responded with unexpected grace. Mike from the recycling center showing reporters Tommy's carefully documented collection records. "This boy worked for every penny." He declared the footage of his emotional defense going viral alongside the original incident. Other shop owners coming forward with their own stories of Tommy's determination, creating a picture of quiet dignity that touched viewers deeply. "It's not just about toys," Catherine Jensen announced at an impromptu press conference, her voice steady as she outlined plans for immediate policy changes. "It's about dignity, about dreams, about what happens when we forget that every child deserves to feel welcome." Behind her, Marcus nodded approvingly, watching his partner in transformation take her first steps toward healing her family's legacy. Social media campaigns took unexpected turns, people sharing their own childhood memories of counting coins, of saving for special purchases, of dreams deferred or denied. "My first toy" became a trending topic, celebrities joining in sharing stories of struggle and success. "I was Tommy once," a famous athlete posted, counting pennies, dreaming big, wondering if I belonged. Mrs. Chen's Soup Kitchen initiative gained national attention, her simple act of feeding neighborhood children expanding as donations poured in. "Food is love," she told reporters, "but so is dignity." Her words resonating with viewers tired of seeing kindness portrayed as charity rather than community. Tommy helping her serve soup each evening, showing that giving and receiving could be acts of equal grace. Maria found herself at the center of a movement she hadn't sought. Interviews, requests piling up, people wanting to help, but it was her quiet strength that captured hearts. "We're not asking for handouts," she explained during one particularly viral moment. "We're asking for understanding, for the chance to let our children dream without shame." Her words becoming a rallying cry for systemic changes. Era watched it all from her hospital bed. Another asthma attack requiring admission. But this time, something was different. Nurses sharing the viral story with other patients, families reaching out, offering support, specialists offering consultations. "Your brother started something big," her favorite nurse told her while adjusting her oxygen. "Something important, Tommy." continued his daily rounds, collecting cans, helping neighbors, refusing to let viral fame change his routine. But now others joined him, children from across the city, learning about recycling, about persistence, about community. Marcus watched from a distance, understanding that sometimes the most powerful movements grew from the smallest acts of courage. The store manager's final public statement came late that evening. A defensive post that sparked immediate backlash. "I was just doing my job," he wrote, but social media responded with thousands of examples of how that job could have been done differently, with kindness, with understanding, with respect. His words becoming an unintentional catalyst for discussions about corporate responsibility and human dignity as night fell over the city, now buzzing with media attention and community activism. Marcus Chen put the finishing touches on tomorrow's announcement, understanding that viral moments were powerful, but lasting change required structure, vision, commitment. Watching Tommy help Mrs. Chen close her soup kitchen, seeing how naturally leadership grew from service, knowing that sometimes the greatest transformations started with the smallest injustices. The morning after the video went viral, Jensen's toy store opened its doors to an unexpected sight. Hundreds of local residents forming a line not to protest, but to purchase toys. Each customer asking specifically for items to donate to the newly formed community toy library. "If one child can't afford to buy here," the first customer explained to news cameras, "then no child should have to." Catherine Jensen stood beside Marcus Chen, watching the spontaneous movement unfold, understanding blooming. That this was about more than just damage control. This was about community transformation. "We need to do this right," she said, pulling out store blueprints already marking areas for a play space where children could interact with toys regardless of ability to purchase. Marcus nodded his own plans, expanding to match the community's energy. Tommy arrived at school to find his recycling project had exploded overnight. Students from every grade participating, collection bins in every classroom. The science teachers incorporating environmental lessons, the math department helping track earnings. "You started something," his principal explained, watching him stare in amazement at the mountain of cans in the cafeteria. "You showed us how small actions can create big changes." Local businesses began announcing their own initiatives. The grocery store creating a Roundup for Dreams program where customers could add donations to their bills. The hardware store offering free repair clinics, teaching parents how to fix broken toys. Mrs. Chen's soup kitchen expanding into a full community center. "We're not just feeding bodies anymore," she declared. "We're feeding hope." Maria Wilson's diner manager surprised her with news that corporate had approved a college fund program for employees' children, inspired by Tommy's story. "Sometimes it takes one person's courage to wake everyone else up," he said, watching Maria try to hide her tears while Sarah proudly showed customers her brother's picture in the local newspaper. "One person to remind us who we want to be." Marcus Chen's announcement came mid-morning, his team having worked through the night to perfect the details. Wonderland Toys would be opening a new concept store in the Community 1 where play and purchase were equally valued, where family circumstances wouldn't determine access, where dignity came standard. "We're not just selling toys," he explained. "We're investing in childhood itself." The store manager's resignation letter became public not through leaked documents, but through his own choice, posting a lengthy reflection on social media about privilege, about assumptions, about the need for change. "Tommy taught me something." He wrote his words, striking a chord. Different from his earlier defenses, he taught me that dreams don't have price tags. The post going viral for entirely different reasons than the original incidents. Era's hospital room transformed into an impromptu meeting space. Her doctors joining. Discussions about community health initiatives. Her nurses contributing ideas about accessible care. Her own experience becoming a catalyst for examining medical support systems. "Your brother." One doctor told her he didn't just change a toy store. He changed how we think about helping people. Tommy's after-school routine shifted not because he stopped collecting cans, but because now he led teams of students teaching them his roots, showing them how small actions added up, explaining with quiet wisdom beyond his years how community worked. It's not about getting things, he told a kindergartner, carefully placing cans in bins. It's about helping each other dream. Catherine Jensen and Marcus Chen found themselves working late into evening, their collaboration producing ideas neither could have developed alone. We're not just fixing a problem, Catherine realized, watching Tommy lead another group of students through recycling basics. We're building something new. Their plans, expanding beyond single stores, beyond single communities, their vision growing to match the movement. They'd helped spark Mrs. Chen's Soup Kitchen hosted its first community dialogue session. Parents, teachers, business owners, children, all contributing ideas about how to make their neighborhood more inclusive, more supportive, more alive. See how much light comes from one small spark, she told Tommy as he helped serve dinner. How much good grows when we water it with kindness? As evening settled over the transformed community, Maria Wilson sat with her children watching news coverage of the day's events, seeing how their personal struggle had become a movement for change. Daddy would be proud, Sarah whispered, as footage showed another group of students joining Tommy's recycling initiative, her breathing easier in the warmth of shared purpose, her brother's quiet determination having sparked a flame that seemed to light the whole world. Marcus watched it all from his temporary office, understanding that sometimes the greatest corporate successes came not from market analysis, but from human hearts, that sometimes the best business decisions were the ones that put people before profits, that sometimes transformation started with small acts of courage and grew through community response, his phone buzzing with requests from other cities wanting to implement similar programs, knowing that this was just the beginning. Old Mr. Jensen arrived at his former store leaning heavily on his cane, his face bearing the weight of sleepless nights. Since learning how his family's legacy had been tarnished, Catherine met him at the door, tears in her eyes as she helped him. Inside, I had to come, he said softly, had to see for myself. The store he'd run for 40 years now, standing at a crossroads between past and future inside. The morning staff meeting was unlike any in Jensen's history. Employees gathered not around sales figures, but around transformation plans. The old store manager's desk notably empty, Catherine standing beside Marcus Chen as they outlined their vision. My grandfather built this store on a promise. She began, her voice steady, a promise that every child deserves a place where dreams can live. Mr. Jensen listened, tears rolling down his weathered cheeks as Catherine shared security footage of Tommy's humiliation. This isn't us, he declared, suddenly standing straighter despite his age. This isn't what my father started this store for. He pulled out an old photograph from his wallet showing Jensen's toy store circa 1952, with a sign in the window reading, "All children welcome here, layaway available. We used to let children play." He remembered showing Marcus and Catherine around the store, pointing out spaces that had once held reading corners, play areas, demonstration tables. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that toys aren't just products, they're possibilities. His words striking a chord with everyone present, especially the younger staff members who had never known the store's original spirit. Catherine's transformation plans expanded with each of her grandfather's stories, incorporating elements from the store's past while adding modern innovations. We're not just selling toys, she announced to the assembled staff. We're selling the experience of childhood, the right to dream, the space to imagine. Marcus watched approval spreading across old Mr. Jensen's face, understanding that sometimes the best way forward required remembering where you came from. The store's physical transformation began that afternoon, contractors arriving to create play spaces, while local artists worked on murals, celebrating diversity and imagination. Every child who walks through these doors should see themselves represented, Catherine insisted. Reviewing design plans should feel like they belong. Mr. Jensen nodded, adding his own suggestions drawn from decades of watching children light up at the sight of toys. News of Jensen's transformation spread quickly through the business community, other store owners arriving to offer support to share resources to join what was becoming a movement. "My father couldn't afford toys when I was young," the hardware store owner admitted, "but there was one shopkeeper who let me play anyway, who showed me kindness. That's the legacy we need to continue." Tommy visited the store that evening, invited specially by Catherine and Mr. Jensen. His presence requested, not as a customer, but as a consultant. "What would make you feel welcome here?" they asked. Watching him consider the space with serious eyes, Sarah beside him in her wheelchair offering her own suggestions, their perspective proving invaluable as plans were refined and adjusted. "We need a reading corner," Sarah suggested, pointing to a sunny spot near the window, "where kids can sit and dream even if they can't buy." Tommy added practical ideas about display heights, accessibility, prices clearly marked in child-friendly terms, and maybe, he said quietly, a place where you can count your coins without feeling ashamed. Mr. Jensen hugged both children, then his own memories of childhood dreams, and counted pennies surfacing. Marcus observed it all, understanding that this transformation went beyond corporate initiatives or public relations. This was about healing, about remembering, about reconnecting with the pure joy that toys were meant to represent. "We're not just fixing a mistake," he told Catherine, as they watched Tommy and Sarah explore the store's new design concepts. "We're restoring something precious." The former store manager's request for a meeting surprised everyone, but Catherine agreed to seeing in his face something beyond mere regret. "I forgot," he admitted, sitting in the store after hours, forgot what it felt like to be that child with empty pockets and full dreams, his own transformation becoming part of them all. Store's larger story, his experience offering insights into how systemic change could prevent future incidents. Evening approached. Old Mr. Jensen sat in what would become the store's new community corner, watching contractors work, listening to Catherine and Marcus discuss programs for underprivileged children, remembering his own father's words about how a toy store was really in the business of selling hope. "We lost our way," he said finally, "but sometimes getting lost is how you find your true path." The day ended with a small ceremony, Catherine and Mr. Jensen unveiling the store's new mission statement, "Where dreams have no price tag." The words illuminated above the entrance. Tommy and Sarah present as honored guests their story, now permanently woven into Jensen's legacy, their experience transforming not just one store, but an entire community's understanding of what business could be, what childhood should be, what dreams could mean. Marcus watched it all from the background, understanding that sometimes the greatest corporate achievements came not from maximizing profits, but from maximizing humanity. That sometimes the best business decisions were the ones that put hearts before headlines, that sometimes true success meant returning to your roots while growing new branches toward the future. The morning of Sarah's 6th birthday dawned bright and clear. Tommy waking early to sort his final collection of cans, not knowing that the entire community had been preparing for weeks to make this day special, his dedicated recycling efforts. Having inspired a movement far beyond his imagination, Maria watched her son count coins one last time, tears in her eyes as she held an envelope containing news that would change everything. "We need you both at the store," Catherine Jensen called, trying to keep the excitement from her voice. "There's something wrong with the new play area design. We need Sarah's expert opinion." Tommy and Sarah exchanged glances, their recent role as store consultants having become a source of pride, but neither expecting what awaited them at Jensen's newly transformed toy store. The crowd gathered inside remained perfectly quiet as Tommy pushed Sarah's wheelchair through the doors, their small gasps of surprise echoing in the silence the store had been. Transformed into a magical birthday wonderland, streamers and balloons in Sarah's favorite colors decorating every surface. But it was the people who made the scene extraordinary. Hundreds of community members, each holding a recycled can filled with flowers. "Surprise!" the chorus of voices rang out, Sarah's eyes growing wide as she recognized faces from throughout their daily lives. Mike from the recycling center, Mrs. Chen from the soup kitchen, her doctors and nurses from the hospital, her classmates and teachers, Tommy's recycling team members, everyone who had been touched by their story, everyone who had become part of their extended family. Marcus Chen stepped forward, then his casual clothes replaced by a proper suit. "Tommy," he said, kneeling to meet the boy's eyes, "your recycling initiative has collected more than cans, it's collected hope." He presented a certificate showing the total impact of Tommy's project now spread across multiple schools and communities. "You've raised awareness about environmental responsibility while teaching us all about dignity and determination." But it was Katherine Jensen's announcement that brought tears to Maria's eyes. The Jensen family, in partnership with Wonderland Toys, is establishing the Wilson Family Scholarship Fund, she revealed, for children who dream big and work hard. The fund, inspired by Tommy's dedication, would provide educational and enrichment opportunities for underprivileged children, starting with full coverage of Sarah's medical expenses. The princess doll that had started it all sat on a special display, her sparkly dress catching the light. But she wasn't alone. Dozens of other toys surrounded her, each contributed by community members, each representing a different child's dream, each telling part of the larger story about how one boy's determination had sparked a movement of kindness. Sarah's doctors stepped forward next, announcing a new pediatric asthma initiative inspired by her. "Case, your brother showed us that sometimes the best medicine is community," they explained, while presenting her with a new breathing machine decorated with princess stickers. "And sometimes the best healing happens when we work together." Tommy stood quietly absorbing it all, his initial embarrassment at being the center of attention transforming into understanding as he watched Sarah's joy, as he saw how his small acts of dedication had grown into something larger than himself. Mrs. Chen appeared beside him, then, "Sometimes," she said softly, "the biggest dreams come true in ways we never expected." The celebration expanded beyond just Sarah's birthday, becoming a community festival of sorts, local businesses setting up stations throughout. The store offering activities and treats, the recycling center creating educational displays about environmental impact, the hospital providing health screenings. The whole town coming together to celebrate not just one child's special day, but their collective transformation. Maria found herself surrounded by other parents, sharing stories, trading advice, offering support, the network of care that had always existed in their community, now strengthened and made visible by recent events. "We've always been here for each other," one mother observed, "but sometimes it takes a child's courage to remind us how the former store manager made an appearance, his own transformation evident in his humble demeanor, in his sincere interactions with the children, in his commitment to learning from past mistakes. Tommy taught me more than any corporate training ever could," he admitted. While helping younger kids sort recycling into proper bins, he taught me to see people, not circumstances. As evening approached, the celebration showed no signs of slowing, Sarah's smile growing brighter with each new surprise. Tommy's quiet pride evident in his careful attention to his sister's enjoyment. Marcus Chen and Katherine Jensen watching from the sidelines, understanding that they had witnessed something rare, something precious, something that transcended business metrics and social media metrics. "You know what's really special about today?" Sarah said suddenly, her voice carrying in a moment of quiet. It's not just the presents or the party. She looked around at the gathered faces, at the community that had become family, at the store that had become a symbol of transformation. It's that Tommy's dream came true too. He wanted to make my birthday special, and he did. But he made it special for everyone. The sun set on Jensen's toy store, casting long shadows through windows, now decorated with children's artwork, with dreams drawn in crayon, with hopes made visible through simple artistic expression. Tommy and Sarah at the center of a community forever changed by their story. Maria watching her children surrounded by love, understanding that sometimes the greatest gifts came not in fancy packages, but in moments of connection, in acts of kindness, in dreams shared and multiplied. 3 months after Sarah's birthday, Jensen's toy store had become something entirely new, a space where commerce and community blended seamlessly, where children of all backgrounds played together, where dreams took shape regardless of wallet size. Catherine Jensen led another group of visiting business owners through the transformed space. It's not just about selling toys anymore, she explained. It's about creating possibility. The store's new layout told the story: circular play areas where children could explore toys freely, quiet corners for reading and imagination, specialized spaces designed with input from medical professionals to accommodate children with different abilities. We learned from Sarah, Catherine explained, showing visitors the wheelchair-accessible displays, that inclusion isn't an afterthought, it's the foundation. Marcus Chen's Wonderland Toys had implemented similar changes across their national chain, but Jensen's remained special, their grassroots transformation. Serving as a model for others, it started with Tommy. Marcus told corporate boards and business conferences, with a boy collecting cans, with a community remembering its heart. Their profit margins had actually increased, proving that conscience and commerce could coexist. Tommy's recycling initiative had evolved into a full environmental education program. Schools across the state adopting his model, combining environmental responsibility with community support. He showed us how small actions multiply, his principal explained to education officials, while students sorted recyclables funds, now supporting various community projects, how personal dedication becomes public good. The Wilson Family Scholarship Fund had already helped 12 families access educational and enrichment opportunities. Sarah's medical expenses fully covered, her breathing significantly improved with proper care, but the real medicine, her doctor observed watching her play confidently in Jensen's special needs area, was the community's embrace. Other hospitals began implementing similar support programs. Maria Wilson found herself speaking at community development conferences, sharing their story not as a tale of charity, but as an example of community potential. We didn't need handouts, she would explain. We needed connection, understanding, opportunity. Her words inspiring other communities to examine their own structures of support and exclusion. Mrs. Chen's Soup Kitchen had transformed to now occupying a permanent space in Jensen's community wing, serving not just food, but as a gathering place where dignity and sustenance went hand in hand. Hungry stomachs are only part of the problem, she said. Watching children play while parents shared resources, hungry hearts need feeding too. The former store manager had found his own path to redemption, working now with business schools, sharing his experience, teaching future leaders about the true cost of discrimination. I thought was protecting the store's interests, he would tell students, but I was actually betraying its purpose. His honest reflection becoming part of a larger conversation about corporate responsibility. Catherine Jensen and Marcus Chen collaborated on a formal guidebook, Retail with Heart, sharing their learned wisdom about how businesses could serve as community anchors. It's not about choosing between profit and purpose, they wrote. It's about recognizing that true prosperity includes everyone. Their model being studied in business schools, nationwide local artists had painted a new mural on Jensen's wall depicting Tommy collecting cans, Sarah reading to younger children, the community joining together, the image becoming a symbol of their transformation featured in national media. But the real masterpiece, old Mr. Jensen would say, is what happens inside these walls every day. The store's weekly community nights had become legendary, children from all backgrounds playing together. Parents sharing resources, teenagers helping with homework, college students returning to volunteer. We're not just changing how toys are sold, Catherine explained to another group of visitors. We're changing how community works. The model spreading to other businesses, other towns, other possibilities. Tommy still collected cans, but now led teams of young environmentalists. Their efforts supporting various community initiatives, Sarah often accompanying them in her wheelchair reading stories. To younger children at collection sites, sometimes the biggest changes, she would say, echoing Mrs. Chen's wisdom, start with the smallest actions. Marcus watched it all from his various commitments, understanding that they had stumbled upon something profound, something that transcended typical business metrics, something that spoke to the deep human need for connection, for dignity, for hope. His corporate initiatives, now guided by lessons learned from a small boy, counting coins from a community, remembering its heart. Autumn approached, bringing new changes, new challenges, new opportunities. Jensen's toy store stood as a testament to possibility. Its transformed space, hosting daily miracles of inclusion, understanding, growth. Catherine often found herself watching children play, remembering that crucial moment when tragedy had become opportunity, when exclusion had become invitation, when business had remembered its soul, Tommy. And Sarah became regular fixtures at community planning meetings. Their perspective valued their experience, respected their continuing story. Inspiring others to imagine new possibilities, they remind us, Marcus would say, that the future belongs to those who dare to dream it. Their presence ensuring that transformation remained grounded in real needs, real hopes, real community. Visitors from across the country came to study the Jensen model, taking notes, taking pictures, taking inspiration. But it was the daily reality that proved most powerful. Children playing without awareness of class or circumstance, parents finding support and connection, communities discovering their own potential for transformation. Every small interaction adding to the larger story of what business could be, what community could mean, what dreams could achieve. 6 months into Jensen's transformation, the changes had begun to show in ways nobody had initially imagined. Tommy's former principal explained it best during a community impact meeting. "We're not just seeing improved attendance or better grades," she said, reviewing the data. "We're seeing children who believe in possibility." The statistics backing her up, showing dramatic improvements in everything, from school participation to family engagement. Maria Wilson had been promoted to manager at the diner, her new position allowing her to implement similar changes in her workplace: flexible scheduling for parent employees, child care assistance programs, educational support. "We're breaking the cycles," she explained to corporate representatives. Studying their model, not just helping people survive, but helping them thrive. Her own experience informing policies that would spread throughout the restaurant chain. Sora's health had stabilized, her regular treatments now complemented by community support programs that made medical care accessible to all families. The hospital's new pediatric wing, named in her honor, featuring play areas designed with Jensen's inclusive model. "Sometimes healing needs more than medicine," her doctor observed, watching Sarah lead a support group for younger asthma patients. "It needs hope." The recycling initiative had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Tommy's simple can collection evolving into a comprehensive environmental education program that provided jobs for struggling parents, educational opportunities for children, and community reinvestment funds. He showed us how personal action connects to community good. Mike from the recycling center explained, while training new team members. How small efforts multiply. Catherine Jensen and Marcus Chen found themselves consulting with businesses nationwide their transformation model, proving that social responsibility and profitability could coexist. It's not charity, Marcus would explain, showing quarterly reports that demonstrated increased revenue alongside community impact. It's good business to help your community prosper. Their approach becoming a case study in leading business schools. Mrs. Chen's community kitchen now occupied a permanent space in Jensen's expanded facility, serving not just meals, but as a hub for job training, financial literacy classes, and family support services. When you feed someone's dignity, she said, watching parents move from receiving help to offering it, you feed their future. Her program becoming a model for similar initiatives across the country. The Wilson Family Scholarship Fund had expanded beyond its initial scope, now offering not just educational support, but mentorship programs, career guidance, and family resources. We're not just helping children dream, Catherine explained during a donor meeting. We're giving them tools to achieve those dreams. Tommy and Sarah's story continuing to inspire contributions that helped other families break free from poverty. Local businesses had adopted what they called the Jensen approach, implementing policies that considered community impact alongside profit margins, creating spaces that welcomed everyone regardless of purchasing power, offering support programs that helped families move from survival to success. We discovered the Chamber of Commerce president noted that inclusive business is better business. Tommy's original recycling route had become a teaching trail marked with educational signs explaining environmental impact, community connection, and economic opportunity. Young students now took field trips along the path, learning how small actions could create large changes. Every can matters, Tommy would tell them, just like every person matters. His simple wisdom continuing to shape community understandings. Era's birthday celebration had become an annual community event, not just marking her special day, but celebrating transformation, progress, and possibility. This year's gathering featured families sharing success stories, children demonstrating new skills, parents announcing educational achievements. We're not just changing lives, Maria observed, watching her daughter blow out candles surrounded by community. We're changing expectations. The former store manager had found his calling training corporate leaders in conscious capitalism, his own transformation story serving as a powerful reminder of how change could happen at any level. I thought I was protecting profits, he would tell his audiences, but I was actually limiting them by limiting human potential. His honest reflections helping other businesses recognize and address their own biases. Marcus watched it all from his various commitments, understanding that they had discovered something profound about how communities could heal themselves, how businesses could serve as catalysts for change, how simple acts of kindness could multiply into movements of transformation. His corporate initiatives now guided by lessons learned from a small boy collecting cans from a community, remembering its heart as autumn painted the town in shades of gold. Jensen's toy store stood as a testament to possibility. Its transformed space hosting, daily miracles of inclusion, understanding growth. Catherine often found herself watching children play, remembering that crucial moment when tragedy had become opportunity, when exclusion had become invitation, when business had remembered its soul. Tommy and Sarah continued their work. Their perspective valued their experience, respected their ongoing story, inspiring others to imagine new possibilities. They remind us. Marcus would say that the future belongs to those who dare to dream it. Their presence ensuring that transformation remained grounded in real needs, real hopes. Real community visitors came from across the country to study what they called the Jensen Miracle, taking notes, taking pictures, taking inspiration. But it was the daily reality that proved most powerful: children playing without awareness of class or circumstance, parents finding support and connection, communities discovering their own potential for transformation. Every small interaction adding to the larger story of what business could be, what community could mean, what dreams could achieve. 1 year after Tommy's humiliation made headlines, the Presidential Commission on Community Development chose Jensen's toy store as the location for their announcement of new national initiatives inspired by what they called the Jensen model of business transformation. Tommy and Sarah sat in the front row watching as their story officially became part of a larger movement for change. What started with a boy collecting cans has become a blueprint for community renewal. The commission chair announced, describing how Jensen's approach had been successfully replicated in over 500 communities nationwide. Marcus Chen and Catherine Jensen sharing data that proved social responsibility could drive economic growth. "We're not just changing how businesses operate," Marcus explained. "We're changing how communities thrive." The statistics told a powerful story. In towns that had adopted the Jensen model, school attendance, improved healthcare access, expanded environmental awareness grew, but it was the human stories that truly demonstrated the impact: families moving from survival to stability, children finding paths to their dreams, communities discovering their collective strength. "Tommy showed us," Catherine said during her presentation, "that small actions can create large changes." Maria Wilson now headed a national advisory board on workplace transformation, her experience informing policies that helped working parents succeed. "We're not just offering jobs," she explained to corporate leaders gathered for the announcement. "We're offering futures." Her programs, combining employment with education support, childcare assistance, and career development, had become standard practice in forward thinking companies. Sarah's health initiative had spread to pediatric units across the country, her doctors presenting research showing how community support improved medical outcomes. "Treatment works better," they explained, "when healing includes hope." Hospitals implementing play areas modified from Jensen's designed family support programs based on Mrs. Chen's model and accessibility features inspired by Sarah's own experiences. Tommy's environmental education program had gone international schools worldwide, adopting his combination of practical action and community support. "It's not just about recycling anymore," he told a youth leadership conference, his quiet confidence inspiring a new generation of activists. "It's about believing we can make things better." His simple method of collecting cans having evolved into comprehensive sustainability initiatives. Mrs. Chen's community kitchen concept had been recognized by the United Nations as a model for sustainable community development. Her approach to combining nutrition with dignity, education with empowerment, now being implemented in struggling communities worldwide. "Food opens hearts," she said, watching new programs launch across continents, but respect nourishes souls. The Wilson Family Scholarship Fund had grown into a national foundation supporting thousands of families, its success challenging traditional notions about charity and community support. "We're not giving handouts," Catherine explained to international media. "We're investing in potential." The foundation's approach, focusing on removing barriers, creating opportunities, and building sustainable support systems. Local businesses across America had begun their own transformations following Jensen's example of combining profit with purpose. The Chamber of Commerce creating new standards for community engagement. "We discovered," their national president announced, "that social responsibility isn't just good ethics, it's good economics." Their annual report showing increased profits alongside improved community metrics. Marcus Chen's Wonderland Toys had completely restructured their corporate model. Every store now incorporating community spaces, support programs, and inclusive policies. Tommy and Sarah taught us, he told shareholders, that the true value of a business isn't just on its balance sheet. their stock price soaring as consumers responded to their commitment to community values. The Presidential Commission's new initiatives included tax incentives for businesses adopting Jensen-style transformations, funding for community support programs, and educational resources for implementing inclusive practices. "We're not just changing policies," the chair explained. "We're changing possibilities." Their announcement marking official recognition of what had started as one community's response to injustice. Katherine Jensen found herself addressing the United Nations, describing how a moment of cruelty had transformed into a movement of kindness. "We didn't set out to change the world," she said. "We just wanted to make one store more welcoming," her words resonating with leaders seeking solutions to similar challenges in their own communities. Tommy and Sarah continued their work, now helping other communities implement similar transformations, their experience proving invaluable as towns face their own challenges. "Sometimes," Sarah told a group of young activists, "the biggest changes start with the smallest hopes." Her brother nodding beside her and understanding how their personal story had become part of something larger. The media called it the Jensen effect, this ripple of transformation spreading across communities. But those involved knew it was really about remembering something essential about human dignity, about community potential, about the power of small actions to create large changes. "We're not doing anything revolutionary," Mrs. Chen observed, watching new programs launch. "We're just remembering how to be human." As the Commission's announcement concluded, Tommy stood at the podium, his quiet voice carrying weight, earned through action, through example, through persistent belief in possibility. "What happened in our store," he said, "wasn't really about toys or money or even kindness. It was about seeing each other as people, about remembering we're all part of the same community, about believing that change is possible if we work together." 5 years after that fateful day when a small boy's coins scattered across Jensen's toy store floor, Tommy Wilson stood in his new office as junior community director, his window overlooking the play area where children of all backgrounds explored. Dreams together, the store's transformation, now complete its success, a testament to how tragedy could become triumph when hearts open to possibility. "Remember your first day here?" Katherine Jensen asked, joining him at the window watching a young girl carefully counting coins at one of the specially designed consultation stations where staff help children plan and save for their dreams. "You showed us what we'd forgotten," she said softly. "That every child deserves to feel welcome, that every dream matters regardless of its price tag." Sarah, now a healthy 12-year-old, had become the store's official storyteller, holding court in the reading corner every Saturday morning, sharing tales of transformation with visiting children. Her asthma under control, her spirit strong, her presence a reminder of how community support could change health outcomes. "Sometimes," she would tell her young listeners, "the best medicine is knowing people believe in you." Maria Wilson headed the National Working Families Initiative, her experience informing policies that helped parents balance work with dignity. Her programs now standard practice in businesses across the country. "We're not just changing workplaces," she explained during a training session. "We're changing futures," her own journey from struggling single mother to national policy leader, inspiring others to believe in possibility. Mrs. Chen's community kitchen had expanded into a full support center, occupying the store's entire east wing, serving not just meals, but as a hub for family services, job training, and community connection. "Food brought us together," she said, watching Tommy mentor a young boy learning to count his recycling money. "But love keeps us together." Her model replicated in thousands of communities worldwide. Marcus Chen's Wonderland toys had transformed entirely. Their corporate philosophy rebuilt around the Jensen model. Every store now a center for community renewal. Tommy taught us, he would tell business leaders, that profit means nothing without purpose. Their success, proving that conscience and commerce could not only coexist but thrive together. The former store manager, now led corporate responsibility, training his own story of transformation, powerful testimony to how change could happen at any level. "I thought I was protecting a store," he told his students, "but Tommy showed me I was actually destroying its soul." His honest reflection helping other businesses recognize and address their own biases. Tommy's recycling initiative had evolved into a comprehensive environmental education program spanning continents. Young people worldwide learning how small actions could create large changes. "Every can matters," Heli still told new collectors, "just like every person matters," his simple wisdom continuing to shape understanding about community and responsibility. Catherine Jensen and old Mr. Jensen watched it all from their weekly meetings in the store's heritage corner, where the original "All Children Welcome" sign hung proudly. "We found our way back," the elderly man would say, tears in his eyes, thanks to a boy with $3.27. Their family legacy now stronger than ever, built on foundations of inclusion and understanding. The Wilson Family Scholarship Fund had helped thousands of families break cycles of poverty. Its success challenging traditional notions about charity and community support. "We don't give handouts," Tommy explained to new recipients. "We give opportunities," his own experience informing programs that combined practical help with dignity. Preservation Era's health initiative had revolutionized pediatric care hospitals nationwide, adopting approaches that considered not just medical needs, but community support. "Healing happens better together." Her doctors now taught medical students when treatment includes hope, their research proving how social connection improved health outcomes. As evening approached on this anniversary day, Tommy stood again in the spot where his coins had scattered 5 years ago, remembering the shame, the hurt, the despair, but now understanding how that moment had sparked something extraordinary, something that transcended toys and stores and profits, something that spoke to the very heart of human dignity. "You know what I've learned," he told a gathering of community leaders later that evening. "It's not about the toys or the money or even the programs." He gestured to the transformed space around them. "It's about seeing each other, really seeing each other, about remembering we're all part of something bigger, about believing that change is possible if we just open our hearts." Maria watched her, sun-speak pride shining in her eyes, remembering the boy who had collected cans, seeing the leader he had become, understanding that sometimes the greatest transformations happened not in grand gestures, but in small moments of courage, in persistent belief in the power of community to heal itself. As night fell over Jensen's toy store, now a beacon of hope and transformation, Tommy made his final rounds, ensuring every dream station was ready for tomorrow's young planners, every consultation space prepared for new possibilities, every corner filled with the promise that here in this space, everyone belonged, everyone mattered, everyone had the right to dream. Marcus Chen, standing beside Catherine Jensen, watched their young protege, understanding that they had witnessed something rare, something precious, something that transcended business metrics and social impact reports, something that spoke to the deepest truth about human potential, about community strength, about the power of small actions to create large changes. And so their story continued, not ending with transformation or recognition or even success, but flowing onward like hope itself, touching lives, healing hearts, creating spaces where dreams could grow, where dignity could flourish, where a community could remember its strength. Their work guided always by the wisdom of a boy who had shown them that sometimes the greatest changes started with the smallest actions, that sometimes the purest dreams came wrapped in counted coins, that sometimes the most powerful transformations began with the simple courage to believe in possibility.